Good morning, dear students. This is Arvind Dobriyal, and you all are welcome to the e-learning portal of Cambridge International School, Daswa. We are reading the main textbook, that is Hornbill. So the poem that we are going to read today is The Laburnum Top, written by Ted Hughes. Before starting today's poem, let's do a quick recap of the chapter Albert Einstein at School, written by Patrick Pingle, that we have already discussed in our previous video. We read that Albert's class was on. The history teacher, Mr. Brown, asked Albert when the Prussians defeated the French at Waterloo. Albert told him that he did not know. This irritated the teacher and he asked Albert the reason. Albert replied that he did not see a point in learning the dates. One could learn them from books. Ideas are more important than facts and figures. The teacher thought that Einstein did not believe in education. He talked him in a sarcastic manner. Albert told him that learning facts was not education. The teacher said that Albert was a disgrace to be there. Albert felt miserable when he left the school that afternoon. He did not like his school. He lived in a small room. It was one of the poorest quarters of Munich. The landlady beat her children regularly. Her husband came every Saturday. He drank in the evening and then beat her. He did not like the children's crying every time. He told these things to Yuri. He hated the atmosphere of slum violence. Next time his cousin Elsa came to Munich, she told Albert that if he tried, he could pass the examination. There were more stupid boys than him. Moreover, passing the examination was not difficult. He had not to understand what he was taught. He should merely repeat in the examination. He told Elsa that he was not good at learning these things by heart. He liked music as it gave him much comfort. He also liked geography. Albert did not like to remain in school. He met Yuri after 6 months. He had an idea also. He told Yuri that he needed a medical certificate. It should state that he suffered from a nervous breakdown. Then he could get rid of the school. He asked Yuri if he had a doctor friend. Yuri told him that he knew Ernst Weil. Yuri told him not to deceive him. He must be frank with him. Albert visited Dr. Ernst Weil. Dr. Ernst Weil issued a medical certificate to him. Albert told him about his future plans. He would go to Milan. He hoped to get admission into an Italian college or institute. It was possible from the comment of the mathematics teacher, Mr. Koch. The mathematics teacher was a different man. He understood Albert well. He gave a glowing testimonial to him. He wrote that Albert knew so much that he could not teach him anymore. The head teacher summoned Albert to his room. He wanted Albert to leave the school immediately. Albert asked why it was so. He asked if he should think he was to be expelled. The head teacher gave several reasons for his asking him to leave the school. Albert's presence made it impossible for the teacher to teach and pupils to learn. No serious work would be done while he was present in the class. Albert felt that the medical certificate was useless. Albert wished to tell him what he thought about him and about the school, but he did not do so. After the quick recap of the chapter Albert Einstein at School, let's move to our present topic, the Laburnum Top. First of all, I would like to tell you some objectives. To enable the students to appreciate the poem, to enable them to enjoy the recitation of the poem, to develop the love for poetry reading and writing, to grab the central idea of the poem, to help the students to know about rhyming scheme and poetic device of the poem. So first of all, let me tell you something about the poet Ted Hughes. Ted Hughes was born on 17th of August 1930 in Mytholmroyd, Yorkshire, England, and he was died on 28th of October 1998 in London, England. Ted Hughes was an English poet, translator, and children's writer. Critics frequently rank him as one of the best poets of his generation and one of the 20th century's greatest writers. He was appointed Poet Laureate in 1984 and held the office until his death. In 2008, the Times ranked Hughes fourth on their list of top 50 greatest British writers since 1945. He was married to American poet Sylvia Plath from 1956 until her death by suicide in 1963 at the age of 30. Some admirers of Plath and critics blamed him for the death after the revelation of letters written by Plath between 18 February 1960 and 4th February 1963, which mentioned that Hughes had beaten Plath 2 days before she had a miscarriage in 1961. He loved hunting, fishing, swimming, and picnicking with his family. In the year 1970, he married Carol Orchard. She was a nurse and they remained together until his death. Hughes' first collection, The Hawk in the Rain, that was published in 1957, attracted considerable critical acclaim. In 1959, he won the Galbraith Prize, which brought $5,000. His most significant work is perhaps Crow, that was published in 1970. In a 1971 interview with the London magazine, Hughes cited his main influences as including Blake, Donne, Hopkins, and Eliot. In addition to his own poetry, Hughes wrote a number of translations of European plays, mainly the classical ones. His tale from Ovid, that was published in 1997, contains a selection of free verse translations from Ovid Metamorphoses. He also wrote both poetry and prose for children, one of his most successful books being The Iron Man, written to comfort his children after their mother's death. The poem symbolizes the hardships in life. It indicates that life is a process of exchange and transformation. The poem symbolizes that happiness is short lived, which is evident from the poem, as with the arrival of the goldfinch bird, the tree suddenly becomes active, noisy, and full of life. But its happiness is temporary because with the departure of the goldfinch, the tree becomes silent again. Another theme is mutual relationship. Ted Hughes describes a mutual relationship between a laburnum tree, which is large, beautiful, but quite alone, and a goldfinch bird, which is quite amusing, beautiful, but without a shelter. The laburnum tree gives the house to the bird and its young chicks. In turn, it takes away its dead silence. Thus, the poet wants to tell the readers the importance of living with each other. Every person has different capabilities and things. The poem starts with a description of the laburnum top, which top was still and silent. Its leaves had turned yellow and seeds had fallen down. It was daytime in the month of September when the tree was standing still and deathlike. The lifeless tree becomes alive by the arrival of the goldfinch bird. She came to feed her younger ones, who are on the thickness of the branch. The tree is her shelter. She arrives at the end of the branch with the chipping sound. She further moves to the other side of the branch with rapid and precautionary movement like a lizard. As soon as she arrives, her younger ones start chirping like a machine and vibrating and flapping their wings. The death like tree becomes alive and it trembles and shakes. After feeding them, she flies to the other side of the branch. Her dark colored face with the yellow body was barely visible as she vanished behind the yellow leaves. She flew away in the sky, leaving the tree again death like. The poet describes a beautiful sunny autumn. The laburnum tree is silent and still. It is laden with yellow leaves and yellow flowers in September month. Its leaf had turned yellow because of autumn season and all its seeds have fallen down. In the second stanza, the poet says that just after some time, a goldfinch alights on the laburnum tree, making short but high pitched sound. The goldfinch has her nest in the tree and her chicks are resting in the nest. On the mother's arrival, a sudden movement stirs the tree. Her little ones are excited on her arrival and start chirping. The cautious mother enters the tree with great care so that no predator can come to know that her babies are housed in the nest. The poet has compared the alert, abrupt, and sleek movement of the goldfinch with that of a lizard. Next, the poet says that the goldfinch has been called the engine of her family. Just as the engine starts up the machine, her arrival in the nest has suddenly started up the silent machine, that is, nest. It means the young ones have started chittering and making noise. By feeding her young ones, she has added fuel to the machine, and as a result, the chicks now have the energy to be active and make a lot of noise. After feeding her chicks, the goldfinch flies up and rests on the end of a branch of the tree, her identity concealed behind the yellow flowers and the yellowing leaves. The poet further says that after some time, the goldfinch makes a strange, short, high pitched sound. Then she flies away towards the infinite sky. The laburnum tree becomes silent again after the departure of the goldfinch, and everything seems to be the same as it was before the arrival of the goldfinch. Now let's talk about some poetic devices that are used in this poem. First of all, simile. In this figure of speech, one thing is compared to another. An example of simile in this poem is sleek as a lizard. Next is metaphor. In this figure of speech, a word or phrase is used to represent something else. The example of metaphor in this poem are, first of all, engine of her family, where engine represents the mother goldfinch, and second is machine, which represents the nest with its brood of bird chicks. Next is alliteration. In this figure of speech, a number of words having the same first consonant sound occurs close together in a series. Examples of alliteration in this poem are September sunlight, sudden startlement, alert and abrupt, and tree, tremble, and thrills. Next is onomatopoeia. In this figure of speech, a word is formed from a sound similar to it. For example, twitching, chirrup, chittering, trillings, etc. Next is transferred epithet. A transfer epithet is a description which refers to a character or event but is used to describe a different situation or character. Her barred face identity mask is an example of transferred epithet in this poem. The flowers of the laburnum tree fall like bars, and when the bird sits behind the flowers, the shadow of the flowers on her face looks like she is wearing a mask that has bars on it. Now I am going to conclude what we have read today. Today we have read that the poem Laburnum Top by Ted Hughes describes the mutual relation between a laburnum tree and a goldfinch. Both of them are yellow in color. The tree is yellow because of its flower and quite beautiful in appearance. The laburnum tree is beautiful, large but quite silent and getting naked because of winter. However, the bird goldfinch appears from the sky, and soon the whole tree is surrounded by the sweet chirrup of the bird and her young ones. It was previously dead, and now it seems to be alive and shaking until the bird vanishes away again. The poem has been divided into three stanzas. There is no set rhyming scheme in this poem. The first stanza describes the tree before the bird reaches it. The second stanza describes the coming of the bird, and the final stanza tells the condition of the tree when the bird goes away again. Now, on the basis of your understanding the poem, I have some questions for you. I hope that you will do all these questions by yourself. So, until the next class we meet, take care of yourself and keep learning. Thank you.